And I think we're back. And we're not. Okay, 5 by 5. Good. And I need to mute myself. All right. Let's try this. Yes, we good? I'm good. 13 watching. Welcome back, folks. Welcome back. And I'm just doing some things here. So far, so good. Okay. I literally shut down everything, checked my VPN. Everything's good. Texas Redleg, good to see you. Okay. Thank you, Virginia Bushcrafter. All right, folks. Now I'm not a happy camper, but this too shall pass. And we're going to get into it. And we're going to hit it hard and keep it moving. I don't care what the algorithms do. They can't do too much. And we're going to roll with this. Okay. So, glad you're back. Experience with Sassy, I'm glad I'm back too. All right, let's roll with this. I have no idea where we left off. And I'm going to roll with this and we're going to keep it moving. Okay. I don't care if they can demonetize this video too. On February the 3rd, and some of this you may have heard, some of you may not have heard, okay? Train derailed carrying hazardous materials heading from Pennsylvania to Illinois. And it derailed in Palestine, Ohio. The train weighed 18 tons. It was 9,300 feet long. Yep, I'm going from the top. Yes, I understand. Thank you, Go Prepping. 2,000 residents were living in the immediate area and they were evacuated after the authorities decided to put holes in some of the chemical tankers that were not marked. None of the tankers had hazardous materials placards on them. They evacuated the town. They ended up doing a mandatory evacuation because they were scared that the tanks were going to explode because there was a fire. Now, I do have a background in occupational safety and health, and I'll say this. Yep, the train weighed 18,000 tons. They could have cooled the tanks. They could have cooled the tanks with either water or foam. But instead, because the governor said that they were afraid the tanks would explode and send shrapnel flying miles away. So apparently they dug pits and then they put holes in the tanks and let the chemical soup drain into these pits. And then they had the bright idea to set it all on fire. Urban Garden Chronicles, welcome. Now, 5 days after this, they told residents they could go back home. A lot of the residents were hesitant because of the lingering effects of chemicals in the air, the water, and the soils. The officials monitoring the area had deemed air quality safe. Okay. but they are still investigating the potential long-term environmental impact of this. Okay. Now, out of all of the cars that derailed, there was 50 out of the 150 cars that were heading to Illinois. There was a huge fire that spanned the length of all the derailed cars. But no injuries or deaths were reported. They evacuated residents in a 1-mile radius. Okay. Over a dozen cars were carrying vinyl chloride, which is a carcinogenic chemical. Okay. They say it could have exploded. That is correct. So the derailment happened on the 3rd. They were going to evacuate the town. On the 6th, 3 days later, 72 hours later, they instituted and enacted a mandatory evacuation, threatening to arrest residents who refused to evacuate. So they say, as the fear of the exploding tank was going to explode. The governor told the residents that leaving was a matter of life and death. Then, of course, like I had said earlier, crews ended up releasing toxic chemicals from 5 derailed tanker cars to prevent an explosion. Small holes were made in the train cars, whose chemicals were released into pits, so they say, which then they lit on fire. Okay, folks, we're talking burning vinyl chloride, which is known for PVC and all these other chemicals. There were, first when the train derailment happened, they reported 3 chemicals. Turned out they came back and reported 5 chemicals. This whole thing stinks to holy hell. So, like I had said earlier, they could have cooled the tanks down without drilling holes in them. So once they drilled holes and they set the pits on fire, pictures of the chemical release showed huge clouds of black smoke billowing. You could see it for miles. Okay. This particular chemicals, now you have this soup. And all of these chemicals, I actually have, and I'm going to put this in the chat. I actually have a copy of the manifest of all the chemicals that were on the train. You can look it up. This is a PDF. This is a link to a PDF. You can download the PDF and look at it. It tells all the cars, what's in them, how many, so forth and so on. Now, after they initiated the fire pits, black, thick smoke plumes, it for a 2-mile radius, okay? The chemicals that were released, the most concerning chemical being carried on the derailed train was vinyl chloride. In other words, it's a chemical used to make PVC pipes. It's a hard resin, and it is a carcinogen, okay? Meaning it causes cancer. It's been linked to liver cancer, a rare disease of liver cancer, as well as other types of cancer, also leukemia and lung cancer. Then they talk about short-term exposure effects, including dizziness, drowsiness, which would lead to high exposures of it to be hospitalized and cause death. Another chemical that was on these tankers was butyl acrylate. It's also used in plastic to produce plastic. The EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, later released information that showed 3 more previously unreported chemicals were also released upon this derailment. And I'm going to butcher the names, but you can see them in the PDF in the link that I just shared out. Ethohexyl acrylic, isobutylene, and ethylene glycol monobutyl ether. Okay. Exposure to these chemicals can cause shortness of breath, burning of the skin and eyes, coughing, headaches, nausea, make you throw up. It'll probably make your skin melt, and you can probably see sound. Okay. This is nasty, nasty stuff, folks. In total, the EPA finally reported 5 chemicals that were contained in rail cars that derailed and were breached and on fire in a letter that they sent to Norfolk Southern. They told them everything. So that's EPA. The National Transportation Safety Board, which investigates major train accidents, said a malfunction of a train axle, the rod that connects the 2 wheels together, was the cause of the derailment. Now, here's what got me really thinking about all this stuff, folks. Surveillance camera footage from a Salem, Ohio manufacturer showed a fire under the train happening before it reached East Palestine. They have footage of this train on fire before it even got there. So the investigation is in the derailment is still underway. Meanwhile, the EPA has been actively monitoring environmental conditions in East Palestine and surrounding towns. Residents, folks, first of all, I will say this about the governor of Ohio. He emphatically said Norfolk Southern Railroad Company is 100% liable, and they will pay for everything. That's what our governor is saying. Residents signed up for voluntary home screening through the EPA as of Monday, the 13th of February. Also, the EPA said that they have not detected vinyl chloride or hydrogen chloride, a chemical that is released by burning vinyl chloride, in 291 screened homes, with 181 homes waiting to be screened. Now, here's the thing, and here's the problem, and here's the first major hole I see in all of this mess. When those chemicals mixed into those pits and they set those pits on fire, they created another chemical called dioxin. Okay? Dioxin was used in World War I by the United States as chemical warfare. They released dioxin. You have environmental advocates, local whatever, saying that the EPA is not monitoring enough and not monitoring for different chemicals that this soup of chemicals have produced when they set these burn pits on fire. Now, also, officials have told residents that monitoring has shown the area's drinking water to be safe. Phosgene gas will kill you in a heartbeat. Correct. Agent Orange, Rapture Ready. Officials told these people the drinking water is safe when there is a plume of chemicals floating down the Ohio River. Okay. Now, hopefully I can share this. The Ohio River. I'm going to share some things here. I'm going to share some maps with you guys and show you exactly what the heck is going on. Okay. Present, share screen. Here we go. Look at this map. Columbus, Ohio, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the Ohio River. The Ohio River actually starts in Pennsylvania. And I'm going to read you some information here that, yeah, here's the Ohio River at a glance. The Ohio River is 981 miles long. Okay, starting at the confluence of the Alleghenies and the Monongahela rivers in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and it ends in Illinois, where it flows into the Mississippi River. So it starts up here and it trickles down through here. The Ohio River touches 6 states. Okay? The Ohio River touches Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, touches Tennessee a tad bit, then it dumps into the Mississippi. Fish are dying. There was residents on the local news here talking about within 24 hours, they saw fish dead floating in the creeks. Okay. Louisville, Kentucky, get their water from the Ohio River. They shut it off. They shut the pumps off, pumping in water from the Ohio River, and turned on other pumps to try to filter out this crap that's floating down the Ohio River. Also, the Ohio River, at its average depth, is only 24 feet deep. The Ohio River supports 160 species of fish. More than 30 million people live in the Ohio River basin. The Ohio River is a source of drinking water for more than 5 million people. There are 20 locks and dams on the Ohio River for flood control and navigation. Also, there are 38 power generating facilities on the Ohio River. I will say this. The Ohio River, no, let me backtrack. This chemical train derailment is probably the biggest chemical spill in the history of the United States that has been made public. I'm going to share another map with you. Let me find it. Hope everybody's doing good. Can y'all still hear me? Yeah, 5 million people, right. Okay, this map here, of the Ohio River, which is in blue. Ohio River starts in Pittsburgh, comes through Pennsylvania, down through Ohio, the basin. It's touching West Virginia, and Ohio. Coming through Ohio to Cincinnati, it's also touching Kentucky. Once it reaches Indiana, and it's very close to Louisville, runs right by Louisville, down through Kentucky, hits the corner of Illinois, and then dumps into the Mississippi River. 30 million people, folks, that the Ohio River supplies. So let's take a look at a grander scale of the map. Okay. Take a look at this map right here. This is the United States of America, our great country. We have the Ohio River Basin over here, which in blue comes through the 6 states I just mentioned and dumps right into the Mississippi River right here, which traverses the length of the United States of America. Okay? With that, I'll say this. There were concerns for the residents, okay? These people were told they can go home 5 days later. They told them that the water was safe. EPA comes back, or the governor of Pennsylvania and the governor of Ohio said, drink bottled water until we find out if the water is actually safe. Okay, folks, this is why we prep. Everything we prep and do is for stuff like this. I'm getting in my feelings because I'm mad. Because once again, these people over here in Palestine, Ohio, were let down dramatically. Now, here's the biggest thing, one of the biggest things. Despite reassurance from officials that the area's air and water was safe, residents in the vicinity of the derailment have reported multiple health symptoms already, including nausea, burning sensations in their eyes. One resident in a town 10 miles north of East Palestine told a local TV news station that 6 of their chickens died suddenly a day after the chemical release. 24 hours. And then another resident started reporting seeing dead fish floating in a local creek. But yet they're telling these people that the area is safe, the air quality is safe, and the water's quality is safe. Okay? Experts have expressed concern that the EPA is not testing for other chemicals that have been made through the burning of this toxic soup. They're not testing for dioxin and phosgene and all that other stuff because they're only testing for the list that they were given of the chemicals. They're not testing the soup. They're looking for the ingredients. Local business owners and residents are suing Norfolk Southern in an effort to get the company to cover all medical screenings for the residents within a 30-mile radius of the derailment. One of the lawsuits, there are some, I've looked at a couple. The lawsuits argues that the company failed to exercise reasonable welfare to protect the local residents who were exposed to toxic substances, toxic fumes, and carcinogens when the train derailed and when they set that pit of soup on fire. So here's the thing. The EPA warned Norfolk and Southern that they could be held liable for costs relating to the derailment, including cleanup and prevention efforts. So the Washington Post reports 11 days after the train derailment, spilling toxic chemicals and causing this massive fire. Tuesday, on Valentine's Day, officials told residents 11 days later to drink bottled water, to use bottled water until testing could be confirmed whether the water was safe to use or drink. After they've already seen and been told there's fish floating in the water dead, and from the plume of toxic soup floating down the Ohio River. 11 days later, they start telling folks to drink bottled water. People aren't going back home. Okay? And I already told you there is camera surveillance footage of the train on fire under the train before it even hit East Palestine. Water officials Ohio Department of Natural Resources, they're tracking a large plume of the contamination that's floating down the Ohio River, has already killed 3,500 fish in local waterways that have been subject to this chemical soup. It also states that cleanup crews are excavating a grossly contaminated 1,000-foot area around the train tracks where butyl acrylate puddled and vinyl chloride burned. Here again, where the soup cooked and burned and boiled and plumed dioxins into the air. Now they're going to start digging the ground. And it folks, this is a disaster. Now, the soup that got into the soil is absolutely, which is ethylhexyl alkylate, which they're saying is a possible human carcinogen. This particular chemical is non-biodegradable. It's going to take years, if not decades, for this stuff to be completely removed from the ground. You've got people that will not come back to that area. They're suing Norfolk Southern for everything they have, and they should. And I hope the town sues them personally, because now 6 chemicals have been identified from that train. 6. That's not including the plume of soup chemicals that were created from the result of these chemicals mixing together and then burning on top of that. And I think I forget who it was. I've seen actual pictures from there, and it is 100 times worse than what you've seen on the internet. I'll say that, and I'll leave it at that. Again, the state of Ohio Tuesday on Valentine's Day is focusing on reassuring residents that the air in East Palestine remains safe to breathe, and that those who evacuated last week can live in their homes despite the extent of the cleanup ahead. There is no way in hell I would be going back to that house. Psalms 146, good to see you. There's no way. I would not, what I left with is what I have. I would not be going back there. So Governor Mike DeWine told reporters that Norfolk and Southern had committed to paying for everything. Okay. They said Norfolk and Southern already said they will pay for everything. We'll see what happens, because last night they had a town hall meeting to talk about what's going on, and Norfolk and Southern was not even at the meeting. They didn't even show up at the town hall meeting. But yet they said they're going to pay for everything. Okay. This chemical soup that was on the train was not categorized as a high hazardous material train, according to the governor of Ohio, meaning that the railway company weren't required to give the state any notification about its passage. Okay. So if that train would have been placarded, then they would have had to have notified the state that they were passing through. But because they didn't have hazardous material placards on the train, they did not have to report it to the state that they were coming through. The governor has called on Congress to re-examine regulations for trains carrying toxic substances, which environmental advocates have been screaming and hollering about forever. Now, Norfolk and Southern claims Monday that it has paid out more than $1 million to displaced residents in reimbursements and cash advances for lodging and other expenses, and is in the process of contacting and meeting with affected local businesses. And it says also the company donated money to the Ohio Red Cross and the local fire department. This is a bunch of BS, y'all. The more I read and the more I dig into this, I tried not to get near this topic, but I have to, because it's my state, it's my neighbors. I'm literally 173 miles to the west. So everything here is good. But in the next coming months, I will be having my well water tested. 20 cars of the 141 car train were carrying hazardous materials, which 11 of those cars derailed, according to the National Transportation Safety Board. That's what they reported this past Tuesday. Along with other cars carrying cargo not categorized as hazardous. In 5 of those cars was vinyl chloride. Afraid the train cars, as I say, could explode. So here's their reasoning for putting the holes in the tankers and draining them into pits and setting them on fire. This is what they said. The governor said, authorities decided the better of 2 bad options was to release and burn the vinyl chloride, according to Governor Mike DeWine. That move sent dangerous gases, hydrogen chloride and phosgene, into the air, but it averted the explosion that Governor DeWine said he had been told that it would be catastrophic. This whole thing is catastrophic. So again, I'm going to put in the chat the PDF of the manifest of chemicals on the train. You guys can look at it yourself, because that's public information. And one director, David Mazur, he's the executive director of the advocacy group Penn Environment, which I'm assuming is in Pennsylvania. Listen to what he said. He said it feels like a sci-fi movie. when you are told that one of the byproducts being released is an agent that we used against our enemies in World War I? What was the movie, folks, that came out on Netflix that exactly dealt with this exact scenario? Have a good evening, Coffee. Thank you for hanging in with me as much as you could. White Noise. Absolutely, James Price. This is the exact thing that happened in the movie White Noise. If you don't believe me, check out Netflix, look it up, and watch it, folks. I'm pissed. I don't know any other way to say it. Excuse my language, but this should have never happened. This was a complete, utter failure by everybody. Correct. Right. Johnny Preps. Exactly. You know, thank you guys. I will say this. Thank you for hanging in with me on this. Yeah, they actually filmed Ghetto. You're right. They filmed part of that movie here in Ohio. And they had extras from that area. Yep, exactly. Experience with Sassy. Watched it yesterday. Folks, I'm telling you now, what happened here, I don't know if it was done on purpose or not, but I'll say this. This type of thing could have a ripple effect through these 6 states all the way to the Mississippi. And if there are other train derailments, it could completely contaminate our waterways throughout this whole country. Now, is this a coincidence? I don't know. How many train derailments have happened this week so far? Motivation from the weightlifting geek. I see you, bruh. Thank you. I'm in my feelings, and I am not a happy camper. So many train derailments. Daryl, you know what, my friend? It's a hybrid warfare. Good point. There was a train derailment in Texas. 4. Okay, right. 4 so far. Thank you, Unbiased and Daryl. Thank you. 4. We've had 4 train derailments. Is that a coincidence? No, I don't think it is. Although they report there's so many train derailments that happen every year that, no, this is not a coincidence. You know, I truly, 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 truly believe that something is afoot. Do me a favor, folks. Hit the thumbs up button. Let's turn YouTube on their rear end, because despite of what tried to happen during the first live stream, the second live stream is kicking and hopping, and we're gonna do some stuff. CJ Blaze, thank you very much. And I'm going to say hello to some folks. CJ Blaze, good to see you. Magic, welcome. Klingon Princess, good to see you. TLC in the garden, welcome. Motivation from the weightlifting geek, my brother, good to see you. My Renaissance grandma, good to see you. M&T living and cooking, good to see you as well. And for those of you that were on the first live stream before it decided that for some odd reason, didn't want audio to go through. We call it a coincidence. We'll chalk that one up. I'll take one for the team and call it technical difficulties on my part, because I can't prove it wrong. But I will say this, folks. Right now, it is critical to continue prepping. My man Yardbirds. That's my guy right there. Vision outsmarted the people behind the curtain. And I'm gonna try to do it every time I can. Folks, start filling your holes in your preps. Fill what your lack is. You know what you're lacking, what you haven't done, or what you need more of. Focus on that. And as I said at the end of last year, in the beginning of this year, we're getting ready to see some more stuff thrown at us this year that we've never seen in our life. And keep an eye on what you don't hear and what you don't see. How many balloons are floating in the air? And all of a sudden, NORAD tweaks their radars, so now these show up. So if these are just now showing up, what was the radar looking for in the first place? Very good, Ontario Prepper. What you lack, you need to stack. Exactly, James Price. Do it, folks. And I'll say this. Urban Garden Chronicles, absolutely. Stock up. Folks, if you're new to prepping and preparedness and you have questions, you can email me anytime. visionpreparedness@gmail.com. There's tons of people in here. Matter of fact, all content creators, do me a favor, type the word vision, drop your links. Folks, check these folks out. Everybody in here is probably smarter than me, but collectively, we're technically unstoppable because the events of these train derailments, power outages, mass shootings, balloons floating in the air, everything they're throwing at us, this is why we prep. This is why we prep. Thank you, Triple Threat. I appreciate you. Folks, I can't think of more reasons now to start prepping. WV Prepared Mind. No one has taken credit for those balloons. I'm with you. They're probably ours. That would not surprise me one bit. One bit. Johnny Preps, now that the radars have been tweaked, it may affect the migration of birds. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, folks, you got to prep. RJ Funches, good to see you, my friend. If you're leaving, have a great evening. Smash that like button for me. Folks, we're in some crazy times. And what time is this? 9:49. I've been going for 43 minutes. I haven't even reached an hour yet. Well, if we include the YouTube trap, we're going. Prep, folks. Food, water, shelter, communications, and security. Those should be your top 5 right there. Top 5. Food, water, shelter, communication, and security. I am literally working feverishly to bring some online courses. I've got one hurdle left to get through, and we're going to let it rip. There are these times that we're in now. All of a sudden, those that are preppers, homesteaders, gardeners, that want to be relying on their self. In other words, we want to be more producers and less consumers. We're the ones that's going to get through all of this mess. And I'll admit, I was literally before my live. Good to see you, Black Poindexter. Salute to you, my brother. Good to see you. Before my live, I was having a phone conversation with Ontario Prepper. We've become good friends. and we were talking about things, and he said something to me that was profound. We have to stick together. That's the only way we're going to make it through this mess that they keep throwing at us, folks. And y'all know I am not a fearmonger. Take care, Ghetto. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. God bless you. Keep your family and keep yourself safe. We gotta stick together to make this happen, folks. Start forming your groups, gathering your people, screening your people that you can depend on and they can depend on you. How you doing, Bougie Prepper? Good to see ya. We gotta do it. We gotta do it, folks, because now is the time. Johnny Preps couldn't say it no better. Now is the time of the prepper. We're for years we were the crazy ones. Now is our time. And as I always say, and y'all know my tag for my company, Vision Preparedness, is the time is now. And the time is now, folks. As Yardbird said it, no matter what comes through those gates, we stand a better chance of surviving if we stick together. You're absolutely right. Form your groups. Get your people together. Tribe of Kings, good to see you, my friend. Hope you're doing well. Train, folks. Open your gear. Use it. Break it out. Test it. That's what the Bug Out Weekend is all about. The Bug Out Weekend is June 2nd through the 4th in Dayton, Ohio. If you have not registered for the Bug Out Weekend and you would like to come, please come. Bring your gear. Test it out. You're in a safe environment. You're going to meet like-minded people. You know, it's not about embarrassed about not knowing something or not knowing how things work. Now is the time. Bug Out Weekend registration link is right there. I'm telling you, we're all going to get together to meet. There's people that I'm so excited to meet that said they're coming, and have some conversation with them. But folks, now's the time. Situational awareness. If you live in a state and you can have a conceal and carry, open carry, constitutional carry, do it. I do not leave my house without it. Everywhere I go, I carry. Good to see you, Mad Chad. One of my fellow Ohioans. Good Eats Homestead. Good to see you too. Connect, folks, with people in your local area as well, if you can. Talk to folks here on YouTube. There's some great folks in the chat. We're putting together. We've met people. I've met people from coast to coast. That if something happens or need information, need to relay information, we can have a conversation. Good Eats Homestead. Exactly. And I don't blame you, and don't do it. Do not do it. Virginia Bushcrafter, you're absolutely right, my friend. It is the normal. Now, I'll say this. Any questions? Because I know I dumped a lot of information. Keep an eye on what's going on in East Palestine. Pray for those people over there, because most of them will never be able to go back to their homes. Never. I know I wouldn't go back. It's horrible what happened to those folks over there. And Norfolk and Southern should be paying for the rest of their life and bankrupt the company. But, you know, folks, now is the time that we should be prepared. Grow your own food. Those folks over there can't even start gardens because of chemicals leaching into the ground. I wouldn't even live over there anymore. I would make Norfolk Southern buy my property at market value and then tack on several thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars onto the property. And I would move as far away as I could. Susan Fit 47, how will the rain affect the spread of the chemicals? It's going to leach through the ground. Most of those chemicals that leached into the ground are not biodegradable. So they're going to stay in the ground for years, 10 years, 15, 5, 10, 15, 20 years. It's going to be a long time. The chemicals are going to stay in the ground. They literally will have to remove the dirt and truck it away to a hazardous waste site and then bring in clean dirt and backfill. Right. The Ohio borders, the entire west border of West Virginia. Our biggest cities in it are on that river. Right. We can't even, being mentioned. Yes, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. West Virginia prepared mind. Rip Curl, readiness. Good to see you, my friend. Hope you're doing well. It's a disaster over there. I'm trying to read through the chat and what's going on and listen to see what everybody's talking about. Right. But, you know, everything that happened over there, it is just pathetic and sad. And I hope Norfolk Southern gets hammered hard, not only by the lawsuits in the state of Ohio, but the federal government and the National Transportation Safety Council. I'm 2 hours, 3 hours away from the Ohio River, but I'm to the west, so technically I'm upstream. So, but yeah, exactly, Magic. Exactly. No accountability anywhere anymore for nothing. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. James Price, have a great evening. Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a good night. Stay safe. Have an amazing weekend. Virginia Bushcrafter says, what is the old saying? They're going to take over America with firing a shot. Get prepared as best as you can. Yeah. Get ready for it, folks. It's coming. Don't know when, don't know what, but it's coming. It is a crying shame to the point where I said at the beginning, the first live stream, I was going to take some of my guys and we were going to go over there and literally take truckloads of water. Until I talked to a friend of mine and I'm not going to say what he does for a living, but he knows what's going on over there. And he told me no. He told me flat out, don't go nowhere near there. And so we didn't. But other than that, it just is, it's not good. And the governor has been giving briefs. Matter of fact, you can Google 10 TV. Matter of fact, because they give local updates daily. I'm going to put in the chat a link to local news here in Columbus, Ohio, when the governor gives updates. So there's a link if you want to watch live coverage here in Columbus. My camera is horrible. Why is it so blurry? Okay, that didn't help. So anyway, there's a link. It just doesn't. It just doesn't make sense of what they're doing. 4 train derailments this week. I don't think that's coincidence. No, prepared Irishman. Nobody had gas masks. No one has magus masks. Gas masks, mag gas masks. Right. But you know, it's crazy. You haven't heard anything, Shad? You guys, the Cuyahoga River and all of that, you guys okay? How about anybody in the Cincinnati area? Is Wolfgang? Wolfgang's not on. MIC. You're absolutely right. Psalms 323, Psalms 124. Exactly. Gas mask. Right. You're right, Virginia Bushcrafter. Gas masks won't last long now because everybody will. CJ Blaze. Okay, you're in Cincinnati. Are they testing the water down there? Do you know, or have they said anything on the news about testing water from the Ohio River? Or your local water? Because now they're also going to be testing not only waterways in the area of East Palestine, but they're going to be testing well water as well for ground penetration of the chemicals. Okay, good. He said that he heard they were going to start testing yesterday. That's good, 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 good. Right. Someone said, don't sign a waiver to have your home tested because it's fine print to absolve the railroad from long-term damage. Absolutely right. And at first they made it voluntary to have your home tested. Okay, Johnny Preps said he's 8 hours east in New York, about 500 miles away. Yeah. Yep. I will probably have my my well tested later in the spring. I'm 173 miles away, but I'm still going to test it. Psalms 146, Home and Garden. Good to see you. I hope you're doing well tonight. Nawakatal said they're hiring a cheap, outfit to do the testing. Of course they are. The Ohio EPA or the federal EPA should be doing the testing themselves instead of contracting it out. Oh, here's another thing. I almost forgot about this. Our great Grandpa Ice Cream said that there was no need for FEMA to show up. That's why FEMA's not there. It's not considered a federal disaster or deemed a federal disaster. So, of course, no FEMA. So, and he said they're not sending them. So, which they don't do much anyway. So, it is just horrible, 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 horrible. Welcome. Appreciate it, Labradoric. Yep. Hey, we shall survive. We shall survive. Correct. Right. The Ohio River's polluted now. You're absolutely right. Absolutely. And he also voluntary EPA absolves the railroad. Someone said, yeah, if you sign, if voluntary, meaning if you don't want it, you sign off on it. Yeah. Black Poindexter, you're absolutely right. So fewer resources for those impacted. Absolutely. Absolutely. The only thing they're worried about, so when this all went down, there was a reporter that went to the derailment, and I forget which news station or radio station. The police arrested him and cuffed him. And I heard they roughed him up. And the governor said that should have never happened. And he's talking to the attorney general so that there are no charges brought against that reporter whatsoever. Yes. Right. You're right, Mad Chad. And that's what EPA, they told Norfolk Southern the same thing. They will be paying for everything. Yes. What time is it? All righty. So, folks, I hope this helped despite the technical difficulties. Do me a favor. We got 53, 54 in the chat. Smash that like button and let's thumb our noses at YouTube algorithms and let them know we will prevail. The experience with Sassy, I agree with you 100%. This is truly a sad and unfortunate situation. Exactly. Same here. Breaks my heart, pisses me off at the same time. Absolutely. TLC in the garden, those with the money and power don't care. They already said it, said it's overpopulated. What better way to control? Poison, right, and unalive to reduce the numbers. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, CJ Blaze. I truly do appreciate it. You guys are the best. And thank you for those. Briar Rose, too. Good to see you. Good to see you. You guys are the ones that keep bringing me back and keep me doing what I'm doing because, we're all in this together. We're all human beings on this planet, and we all live in these United States of America, which in my viewpoint this is still the greatest country on the planet. And, we have our problems. Absolutely. West Virginia Prepared Mind, you're more than welcome. Thank you for hanging. Rapture Ready, you got that right. Never waste a tragedy. That's what they say. Thank you very much, Johnny Preps. You have a good night as well. You stay safe too, my friend. With that, folks, if there are not any other questions, I will say this, and I'll say something after that. You're welcome, Mad Shad. You do the same. You have a great night, my friend. Share this out, folks. Let's see if we can turn and flip YouTube on their heads. I don't care. With that, everybody stay safe. Have an amazing Friday. Have an amazing, safe weekend. And keep prepping because your family is depending on you, and it depends on your life. This is Vision Preparedness. Everybody have an amazing evening. Have a safe evening. And I will see you in the next video. I'm Trent, and this is Vision Preparedness.